All right, guys, we just got some fresh snow out here, and I thought I'd go out for another ski. We don't know how many ski days we've got with the way we've been getting snow these last few years, but me and Bandit are gonna go out on the trail, and I thought I might talk while I ski about the different reasons I think people are deciding to go off-grid or live more independently and sustainably. Some will be reasons that I've chosen to do it, and some will just be reasons that I've seen and want to share. So, and it's ready to get moving. We've got the old Fisher skis. I'm gonna get you mounted up on my chest harness here, and we'll get going. All right, so just as I turn the camera back on, it seems like it started snowing again, which will be awesome. And also, with this fresh snow on the trees, we're seeing some pretty cool snowfalls when the wind comes through. I guess it's supposed to be windy later today and blow a lot of this snow off. This trail has a couple logs over it that I haven't taken care of. Keeps other people from following my tracks on the back of my house. So you might see me slow down and jump over some trees, but I wanted to talk about why I think a lot of people are deciding to go off-grid. And by off-grid, I kind of just mean getting away from the classic mortgage of a house and property that you can't afford, working 9 to 5 or longer. The big thing is affordability. I think is people just simply can't afford to live off their wages, and I've been very fortunate. I've had very good jobs, and about 6 months ago quit a very good job that I had in Denver. And for a year or two leading up to that, I had pretty aggressively been saving every last penny so that I could find a property to buy and build my own house or cabin on it. And so I was able to save up a good amount of money and sell my house in Colorado, and prepared myself for what I think might be a year or two of not traditionally working. I can still make money here and there, but I won't be getting a paycheck in the same way that people are used to. But I have enough money that I can afford not to work and build my homestead, which I'm very fortunate for, but I can assure you lots of planning has gone into that. What I originally tried to do was buy a piece of property back home in New Hampshire while I was in Colorado, and that was very difficult. I ended up needing to move back and buy the property with my boots on the ground here in order to find the right one. So we'll stop and let Bandit do some digging there. So you can see in my other video, I have an explanation. It's me walking and talking on the same trail about about how I found my property and give some pointers there. So check that out if you want. So getting back to affordability, the price of houses and interest rates right now, although interest rates aren't the highest they've ever been, it takes away a lot of access for people to finance these houses and live comfortably. And if you're making $5,000 a month and $3,000 of that is going towards paying for your $400,000 house, most of that's interest in the payment. And then you might have a car payment and other expenses. You just simply can't keep up with the way things are increasing in price. I was talking with my mom yesterday about how, and I'm sure you can shop around and get better prices, but a jar of Hellmann's mayonnaise is $8 at the grocery store. And it used to be under $2, just not in the distant future, a few years ago. So affordability, I think, is a big thing. Another thing is just relying on what we call the grid, and people are getting a lot more weary of understanding that the U.S. infrastructure, in this case electrical lines and poles, have just not been maintained in the way that they should. And the reason we've been able to last this long largely is because it's a relatively new system. So the power grids and infrastructure that was put up in, let's just say in this area, the 1940s and 50s, has mostly been not upgraded. The power line easement, high voltage near my house, I believe those went up in 1950. And although they've done improvements to it, they haven't done improvements in the way that they would need to in order to support the amount of people. And then, of course, once that infrastructure starts degrading, anytime that there's a repair, they're just kind of putting band-aids on a bigger issue, and they're cobbling together this infrastructure that has more outages and more power trees down and damage than it has in the past. And eventually, you would think the way that technology has progressed, that we would be getting better and our downtime power outages would be improving, but that's not the case. So we is crossing the brook now. We crossed that the other day, Bandit and I, so it's not deep there. Even if we broke through, a couple inches of ice is enough. Hold you on skis. So just not trusting infrastructure and wanting to be sustainable. So I had some talks with people around here who are saying, oh, the infrastructure is great. I don't know what you're talking about. But they all have, the same people all have propane backup generators or gasoline backup generators for their grid-tied houses. So, and backup heat sources and all of this. I believe that's a good idea, but if you believe so strongly in the grid system, why does everybody on grid in my area have backup generators? And I don't remember growing up let's say 30 years ago, very many people having backup generators. It was, the power would go out, you'd be prepared as you can be for it, and no one had generators. Now everyone has generators, which I agree, great idea to have that backup option. But people are getting generators, and that's becoming a huge market in this area because people are getting stuck without the power on, and houses are being built without backup heat sources, wood stoves, and that sort of thing, to keep the house warm enough so it doesn't freeze up for 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours. So they need to have those backup generators. But if your homestead is designed to be off-grid in the first place, you eliminate all of that reliance on the grid system. And then the third reason I think people are deciding to go off-grid is independence. And with all the attachments we have to the internet and social media, it's very hard to disconnect. And sometimes it seems like the only way to do that is to basically live in the woods and have access when you want access, electricity when you need and want electricity, but otherwise be disconnected. And we haven't been able to see yet just what that's going to look like for people that have been born in basically the iPhone era. But we're already starting to see mental health issues and other challenges associated with social media. And I think we'll continue to see that in the next, probably we'll see it aggressively in the next 10 years or so, 5 years, 10 years. Because these are the children that are maturing in that era, coming into their 30s, late 20s. There's definitely some people who think that off-grid living or homesteading is for doomsday preppers. There's definitely some of those out there, but it's less than you'd think. And I think a big reason, you'll hear about a lot of doomsday prepping and wars are coming, and that may be so, but I think in the off-grid community on YouTube, that sort of thing, I think a lot of that is just, I won't call it fear-mongering, but I will call it being, what's the word? Just sharing extreme ideas to get followers and clicks and likes. I'm going to try to stay away from that myself, although it is tempting. Everywhere you turn, everything's telling you go down this pathway to get YouTube views and YouTube likes, but I'm going to try to stay away from that myself.